have a vision of where you want to be, but don't focus on where you want to be as much as where you focus on where you're at right now. And where you're at right now is you get 2 likes per post on your fucking Facebook. You need to fix that.
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, well, you know, Tech Nine doesn't do that, or oh, well, you know, Bring Me the Horizon doesn't do that. They don't.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they spend their time creating music and performing it. That's all they do.
Well, all right, man. Well, here we are, man. Welcome, y'all. Welcome to Music Making Sense Podcast. I'm your co-host. I'm my co-host KP, and you got my man Harkos with us.
Yeah.
Word. So this is our first podcast, everybody. So just to let y'all know, this is our first podcast coming on it first time together. We decided to do it after we did a Zoom call with just kind of give y'all a little update on who we are. We are music marketers. We were trained by the great Brandman Network, all right, Contra Brand Agency. We both took the course, and we became music marketers, officially became music marketers. And we decided to come together and kind of not so much do what our mentors are doing, if we will, but we just decided to just come on and give our perspective as new music marketers in the game, give you guys what we do and how we approach things. And we'll talk about discussions like we'll talk about music, we'll talk about creativity, content, all those things, business, and just give you guys our perspective on how we view things and what we do as music marketers and in our own brands. So with that being said, go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself, my man.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to add in there, Brandman Network, their marketing executive course is pretty dope. Yeah. But that's not where we learned all of our information. We both have many years dealing with all different kinds of things, and we've learned from all different kinds of angles and aspects. And I mean, for me specifically, YouTube is king with education because you can find information pretty much on anything that you want, and then you can go from there and test it and decide if it's legit or if it's bullshit, right? And then you just kind of have it as it is, and but yeah, we're both artists and we both want to help artists. Yeah. And that's just what we come down to, basically. Like he said, we started this because we were on like a group call or whatever, and me and him just started just taking over the whole fucking call. So we're like, well, shit, we'll start our own call. How about that? So it is what it is. But yeah, this is like the debut episode, so it is what it is. But every time we come here on an episode, we're going to talk about something specific, maybe multiple things specific, whatever is kind of top of mind, right? Anything that we've dealt with throughout the week, any kind of craziness that we happen to see on the internet or whatever the situation is, anything that we can do that can possibly help somebody just through our videos, let alone working with us. It is what it is. And this is not directly a way for us to market our own services, but it is what it is. Some of you are going to want to work with us because you like our approach on things or what have you. And that's all fine. And if you just take our information and you run with it and you do your own thing 100% independent, then that's much love with that as well too. Me and him are both absolutely independent people. And then we also try to help people as well too, because the way I see things is that, everybody always says like knowledge is king, knowledge is everything. It is.
Facts.
But you got to use it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just talking about using it for yourself. Use it for yourself. Yeah, that's great. But you need to use it for yourself and the benefit of others as well too, because absolutely. That's really where it's gonna be is right there, is because if you can use it to help yourself and you can use it to help others at the same time, then that's just like a 360 win, and especially, if you can do it and you can make some money off of it as well too. I'm not talking about, being Bill Gates rich. I'm just talking about being able to sustain your life however you want to by helping yourself do the things you want to do, and also by helping other people get their goals and everything as well too. That's where I come from with all of this. That's where I am with every skill that I have. Everything that I do, it's to help me first, just because it is what it is. I mean, you may call it selfish, but it is what it is. Everybody's got to think of themselves first, because if you don't feed yourself first, you can't feed others, and so I learn from myself, and then I try to spread that information and help other people, man. That's it is what it is.
Exactly.
And this first episode, we're gonna get all the kinks worked out and shit like that. But
yeah, we're gonna definitely do that. But you know what, Chris?
Yeah.
I was just thinking today, man. One of the things I've been kind of like going through, and just so we kind of get a little topic started, is that I've been going through this thing where it's, how we build, for one thing with us as music marketers, one thing that we do, we have to build relationships, right? And it's important to always build those relationships. And one of the things that comes with that territory of building a relationship is, at times, you have to be honest with your artists or your clients that you're working with. And that's where I feel like I'm at that crossroad. I actually met that crossroad today. And I'm like, in one of those days where it's like, I know for a fact that with my style and the way we, and just how we do podcasts, just like you said, how we kind of like, we took over and just kind of had that monologue, and we were really, we had that we had a dialogue, like we really did, like when you and I talked, it was like that. And you can see that, and it's funny, like when you're working with other artists, and I don't know if you've been experiencing this, or if you've actually came across this crossroad yet, but it's at this point of, you gotta be straight up honest with your client. And sometimes that is hard, especially if you develop a friendship, because in this business, we can develop those type of friendships, those relationships with artists, because we get to know them in ways that a lot of people don't. So it's actually now to the point where it's like, you can tell them all these things, but then when you do things such as listen with your ears and not your heart and your eyes, by looking at their brand first, then you start listening with your ears and you be like, wait a minute, this is the problem, right? And that's why I had brought up on one of my posts on Instagram about being able, a lot of artists, they want to focus on promotion and all that stuff, right? Putting the money into production and promotion and everything else. But sometimes the problem is their skill. That's what
You said they're scared, or they're skilled?
Yeah, they're
skilled. Yeah.
They're straight up skilled. Like it's the problem. Like, and I don't think, and a lot of times with artists, they don't want to hear that. So so with that, besides the fact that you got to straight up be honest with them, but what are some ways that if you're as a music marketer, how do you handle, or even as a artist development coach, how would you handle that in your opinion when it comes to that, when you're dealing with an artist with that?
So for me personally, I try to stay on the other side of that line of friendship. So I try to keep things more business than friendship, because that's where you get fucked up.
Now I have to ask, has that become easier or more difficult for you?
Well, that's easy for me because of my personality.
Okay.
But because my personality is like introvert hermit. So it's very easy for me to be like, all right, fuck the world. and then done deal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, today you're here, next day you're gone. It's no big deal for me.
Okay.
But so there's that. But with when it comes to dealing with somebody and their skill issue, I just try to set it up to where I'm blunt as early as possible in the relationship. Because any kind of relationship, whatever the fuck. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, I just had a thing on my screen saying that something was messed up. But anyway, yeah, any kind of interpersonal relationship that you're gonna have, it's going to have ups and downs and stuff like that. It is what it is. But whenever I'm dealing with people on a professional level, which is how I deal with most humans that I interact with in my life, I I try to keep it straight to the point with them,
Right.
and and I don't I try not to sugarcoat things. What I do,
Yeah, me neither.
if I want to, yeah, if I want to give somebody a critique, what I'll usually do is I'll do what I call the sandwich method, which is where you say something positive, then something negative, then something positive, right? And
So
it's a
be constructive about it. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. But it's constructive all the way around. You're not just like kissing ass, shitting on him, kissing ass. You're actually
Right.
you're actually helping them all around, so you give praise where it's due and where it's not due. Now it's a standard coaching method that I've learned through many different years and different places of being in management in general, like working at places and what have you, military,
What are
all that
some of
shit.
those?
Is you just use the sandwich method whenever you're doing a coaching with people, and it tends to work pretty well, because if I gave you a compliment and then I gave you a critique and then a compliment right next to you, then that's still two compliments and one critique. And critiques always seem to hit a little harder. But if I'm dealing with somebody like an artist with skill, I mean, I just tell them straight up. I'm like, I was actually talking with an artist the other day that I'm going to start working with here soon. Well, actually, I started technically working with, but he's from Nigeria.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, he just randomly hit me up on Facebook the other day, and he was very professional about wanting me to check out his music. Like, he didn't know I'm a marketer or nothing like that. He hit me up on my personal page and everything.
Okay.
And so, like, a lot of times, you know how it is. You accept a friend request, and then all of a sudden you just get bombarded in your inbox with, oh yeah, tap in here. Oh, listen to this, blah blah blah, everything like that.
Right.
Because I mainly deal in hip hop space, and so people get crazy about it sometimes, and then a lot of times there's spam and all that shit too. But he came across very professional, and so I checked out his stuff. Half the time I don't even check out people's stuff unless they come professional. He came professional and respectful and everything like that, and I checked it out, and I'm
Right.
like, hey man, like, I like this song, I don't really like that song, but on this song I do like this one section of the video was kind of jacked up, like a technical issue, like it looked like something went wrong when it was uploading to YouTube or whatever, because it was all glitched out and it did not look intentional at all. And
Right.
so I told him straight up, I'm like, hey, boom, 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 or whatever, and he was like, well, what do you think about that other track? I was like, I didn't really like that other track very well. And I
Mm.
was like, that's just me personally. It is what it is. This track right here hit a lot better. So, in the scheme of things right there, I told him, I'm like, hey, I like this track, but there's this technical glitch on the video. Overall, it's dope though. And he's like, what do you think about the other one? Told him I didn't like it, because I just didn't like it, And then he sent me another track the other day, wanted me to check it out. And so I checked it out, and I was like, so the vocals don't sound like they're mixed right on the hook. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, that's just me. I'm still trying to practice like my hook, like singing type of thing on the hook. And I was like, that's perfectly fine, man. I get it. And I was like, it sounds more in the background on the hook. And I was like, but the verse sounds all right. And so he was like, well, all right, let me talk to, my engineer and stuff like that. Maybe he throw autotune on there to help out. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you normally use autotune, then throw it on there. I don't know why you tried it without it. And
Probably
but
trying to listen to his new, trying to probably, he probably was like thinking in himself, like listening, and probably some older cat producer, probably like a Troy Taylor or something, probably hit him with the use your gift that God gave you, you know what I'm saying? That because
right.
sometimes singers do that, and it's like, well, if you can, because I'm kind of like that too. When I'm like, well, if you can manage y'all singing on auto tune, you can use some effects on it, then go ahead. Because even there are times I still have to use them.
Right. Well, I mean, and I get that, not wanting to always use autotune, and you're wanting to try to just be raw and real. And I
Right.
completely agree with that because, as an artist myself, whenever I throw it to my engineers for mixing and mastering and shit, I tell them just make my shit clean and crispy. You know, that's just how I want it, clean and crispy. And then my ad libs are distant in the background type of situation or whatever. Like, I don't really like a lot of effects on my stuff or nothing like that. I just want it to sound raw and real, like I'm talking to somebody.
Right.
And it that but so I get that aspect of it, but at the same time, like, you got to have that quality with your shit. It's got to be even all the way around. Your hook can't sound kind of in the background and then your verse sound mid-range.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it wasn't even like all the way up front, it was just only mid-range. So it's like, okay, well, both at least got to sound mid-range. And the thing is too, with that hook like that, it made it sound super super indie, right? So like there's the levels, right? So like you can be independent, you can be doing stuff yourself and trying to maximize doing as much stuff on your own as possible.
Right.
But there, you can hear the skill level.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I was trying to say. But him being English as a second language, I'd had to try to keep it decent. I mean, like, he hasn't had any issues where he didn't understand me. It's just, I know it's got a second language barrier, and so I tried to not use slang as much as possible, stuff like that. And so for me, if I would have told him, I'm like, yo, that hook sounds super super indie, but the rest of it sounds mid, he'd been like, what the fuck are you talking about? Maybe, I don't know, but I just kind of kept it as
I think
is.
maybe using that language to letting them know that it is, because it's a universal thing where we kind of know what indie is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably saying that to him he'd probably been like, oh my goodness, he said this sounds super indie, right?
maybe I don't know, man, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So whenever I'm talking with anybody, regardless on what level I'm at with this person, like I said, this dude, like, I'd only been talking to him maybe a day by the time I'm telling him raw real shit. Actually, I told him within the first hour raw real shit, because I told him, I'm like, I don't like that one, I like that one. And I just try to start it out like that. When you're trying to be super super friendly with somebody at the beginning of the relationship, and then shit kind of gets different as time goes on, that's when they start feeling different. And so that's one thing that I've learned from my time in sales and stuff like that as well too, is like, I always go from a perspective of, be raw and real. Don't be salesy. If you throw out some kind of cheesy sales thing, make sure that it's known, hey, I'm being cheesy right now. Right. And then right. And they resonate with that too. They're like, oh, that's a good one. I'm like, yeah, I know. I like that. Stuff like that. Like, I play with it, and then, like, the whole sales process is purely consultative as opposed to coercive. Coercive is like, hey, I need you to sign right here. Come on, let's go ahead and get this done. And other than that, consultative, I'm like, hey, yeah, I think you could use this, and this. Yeah, I got these other things over here too, but you need to start out right here first. Or be like, oh, you don't even need this beginner shit. You need to be up here right now. You got to actually speak to the person, get to know what they're looking for, what they're working with, and then you can go from there. And that goes to any kind of sales, man. Consultative sales is where it's at when you're doing anything. And I mean, and that would be even my advice for artists when they're trying to pitch their music to fans or a promoter or something like that. If you go in there begging and asking them for shit off the jump, then it's not going to turn out good for you.
No,
but
if you go,
but if you go out there and you be like, if you go out there and you just lay it out there, you're just like, hey, this is what it is. It's just like, here's a crazy metaphor, right? I'm full of these all the time. They pop in my head. So imagine you've been working. Right, exactly. So imagine you've been working out, right? You got your body kind of tight and everything like that. You may not be super ripped, but you feeling good about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Guy, girl, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you're like, you know what? I need to go find something to cut up tonight, right? And you go downtown where everybody's at or whatever, and you just kind of take off your shirt and you're just kind of hanging out, walking around or whatever. You're just like flaunting your stuff, and you're just sitting there flaunting it. You walk around, stuff like that. People are going to start coming up to you, right? and they're going to start interacting with you in some way, shape, or form, and then that's your in. Now that obviously feels, hey, that's not too bad. However, on the flip side, if you were to go do the same thing, you take off your shirt and you start walking up to every person you find even moderately attractive and being like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? What's up? What's up? You know, stuff like that. They're going to be like, oh, get the fuck away from me, dude. Put on a shirt. What the hell are you doing? You know, stuff like that. And so, right. And so that's how it is whenever you're trying to market your stuff as well, too. You know, you don't want to go out in public, take your shirt off and start walking up trying to hug people. You know, you don't want to do that. And that's essentially what artists do whenever they're just like spam inboxing people. Yo, tap in, yo, hit my shit, like my shit. Oh, check this out. Oh, stream now, blah, 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 share now, and everything like that. You're sitting here telling people, like, you're just sitting here just all up in people's face, man. It's like walking around grabbing every chick's ass and everything like that with your shirt off, being like, yo, what's up? Come on, let's go. You can't do that with people. Right. And it's the same metaphor, whether you're trying to get sexual relations or whether you're trying to get fans, you still have to approach it the same way. So you just got to put it out there.
Right.
And see what happens, you know, but you got to put it in front of the right people, you know, because for instance, me, right, if I were to take off my shirt and walk into a lesbian bar, odds are not going to get any bites. Right. But if I were to walk into a straight one or even a gay male one, I'm probably going to get bites. Right.
Yeah.
Just because I'm putting what people like in front of them, you know? So, you know, as a hip hop artist myself, if I'm sitting here trying to market my music to people who love Metallica, probably not going to work. Maybe one or two might be interested.
Like one or two. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Maybe one or two, like, but other than that, a lot of people are going to be like, all right, man, have a good day, you know, or just ignore.
White guy thinking he's Eminem or something.
Right. Well, there's that too. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just inherent with yeah. Yeah, so, that's just inherent as well too, and I've been dealing with that my whole life.
I can imagine, but I mean, that's kind of like
it is what it is.
Yeah, well, that's like with me being into obscure, you know, abstract music. It's like the one thing that I face is being able to find that target audience, but then it's like once you do, and knowing what, and it's like you got to know what to sell them, what to, you know, what they want. And the crazy thing is, as we were talking about earlier with me, I'm definitely like, I'm a very extroverted person. So I'm like, I can, and understand, I don't really have a problem with being flat out with people. It's just, you know, it's that thing where you are extroverted. And I'm saying this because I know this is something that I know that there are other extroverted marketers out there like myself. I know that the one thing that we have to do is just make sure, like you said, make sure we not sugarcoating or candy coating anything, right? That's one thing. And the fact that I grew up around, you know, being that I've had coaches and I've been growing up and playing football and basketball, playing sports, getting that discipline, having those coaches around, that's something that I was like, okay, this is where I do shine. And especially with working with artists. Now, the funny thing is like with me, I get to that point where it's like, I get pumped up when I have to tell them, because it's like at times it's like you sitting there, you like, you've been so cool, and you know, you guys have a great, you know, connection. And then it's like, you know, that moment is gonna come. And so it's like one of those things where I'm preparing myself. A need for us as extroverted people, we have to learn to prepare ourselves for when we are about to get into those deep conversations. And that's why I ask you, because the fact that you like you said, you're an introverted hermit, so you can give a rat's ass.
Absolutely.
So that's why I was like, okay, so you ask a person who has that opposite personality trait, but within the same field that you work in. And now it's like, yeah, I could totally understand that. And then like, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm able to relate on so many different levels, having that being extroverted. So that's where for me, it's like, I have to be very much like knowing how, like you said, where it doesn't sound so backhanded, but being where it's constructive. And, you know, just, it's that thing of, like we all say now, keeping that same energy.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you got to try to keep that as even keel as possible, you know. And I mean, one thing I always see artists do, especially in the hip hop space. So in hip hop, for those that don't know, it's very, very egocentric. I mean, because you're a one man band, you're a one man army, everything like that. And so your ego weighs really, really heavy. Whereas if you have any kind of group, whether it's a band or anything like
collective,
that, yeah, some kind of collective, you got like 4 or 5 people. Yeah, the front person usually gets a lot more shine, blah, blah, blah. But you know, you got everybody there.
Right.
Whereas with hip hop, it's a one man show or woman and whatever. And that it's that kind of situation where the ego is so strong that I often tell people, I'm like, look, don't bitch about shit on your socials, because if you do that, yeah, you're being raw and real, but you're also showing people that you're throwing a fucking temper tantrum. You know what I'm saying? When people like, yeah, exactly. Like whenever I see it often where people are like, they'll post something, man, you know, a lot of y'all say you're down with me and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, when it comes time for my new track, I get like 7 plays the first week and yada, yada. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, are you serious? Like you think that's going to work? Like, that's not going to work, you know, at all, because nobody wants to be talked down to like that. And, you know, if you're sitting there, if you're somebody who, you know, maybe you don't get on social media as often like I do, right?
Right.
And when you do get on, you see that person that you do like their music, you do like what they do. And the first thing you see, or maybe the second thing you see, is them bitching about not getting love on their new track. And you're just like, well, what the hell, you know, like, come on, dude, you know,
yeah.
I don't like that, man. So like, I always tell people, like, look, if you're going to be raw and real, you want to vent about some shit, don't vent about your fans or potential fans or your supporters or nothing like that, you know. I like, and if you're gonna do it in a specific way, because everybody can relate to the fact of you putting it out there and people not reciprocating, right? You're always trying to help people don't want to help you when you need it. People can relate to that. But if you're an artist, at least try to make it artistic. You know, if you're going out there full emotion on 200 out of 100, people are not going to relate. They're not going to, unless they're drama queens. They're not going to even engage, you know, and I don't know. Like, the reason that I started wanting to try to help artists is because I keep seeing people do it wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like I see people do things the wrong. I'm not saying I do everything right, but I see people doing things wrong, like hard really wrong, you know? And so, like, you know, little background on me is in 2017, I was like, you know, I want to start a podcast. I'm not sure what I want to do. Well, I knew some up and coming artists that were trying to do their thing. And this is whenever I was still on kind of on a pause with me making my own personal music. And so like I was looking and I'm like, well, there's not really a platform for these people. Let me create one. So I created a podcast. It was like a radio show style podcast where I would just, you know, it was like a radio show. I would play people's music and shit like that and put it out on all the platforms and everything, YouTube video with it and everything like that.
And Anchor, you can do that too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used YouTube and then I used Podbean to distribute it all. But that's how I started. And I did that for like 4 years or whatever. I take a pause because I found that I started doing the same thing. I was putting stuff out there. I was trying to tag people and trying to get it to go. And I'm like, well, you know what? I need to learn how to actually market my shit. Right. Because I'm sitting here, you know, doing, you know, do an episode a week, and then I bumped it to 2 episodes a week, and then like so then I kept trying to do different things. I even had it one time where I was doing 5 shows a week and stuff like that. And it would gain a little bit of traction, but I didn't know how to market it properly, you know. So I'm sitting here trying to help these artists. I don't know how to market it properly. I have a little bit of an idea, you know, a little bit of a leg up and everything like that. Right. But I know I was trying. But also on the flip side, a lot of the artists that I was working with, even if people were watching my, you know, I had people tuning in and stuff like that. The people that were tuning in, even if they liked a specific artist, half the time that artist would be operating off of a personal Facebook page with their legal name, not with their artist name.
Yeah.
They would have like a SoundCloud. They wouldn't really be on all the DSPs. They didn't really have like any kind of social presence as an artist or anything like that. They were posting the same stuff that a regular Joe working at a factory would post when he hops on Facebook to kill time taking a shit. You know, that's what they that's what they were posting, right?
Big time. So I saw that too.
Exactly. And so then I'm like, all right, so I have taken the last 2 years off. 2 years. And I've taken multiple courses on marketing. It's with influence. I took one specifically with the influence on music, and I took another one with just the influence of internet branding and online sales and marketing. Right.
Now, which courses did you what courses did you take? What were some of the courses that really helped?
So I can't remember exactly which one. I know it was version 2 of something that Adam Ivy had. I can't remember the name.
Sell Music.
Yeah, Sell Music Mastermind 2.
Masterclass.
Yeah, Masterclass 2. I took that. And then I also have taken there's another podcaster I know. His name is Jason Stapleton, and
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and so he originally started out in like the libertarian political space with a podcast, and then he transferred that over after a few years to being more of like helping people become entrepreneurs or helping entrepreneurs grow and stuff like that. And so I ended up taking actually multiple of his courses that he had for sale one time in a master collection, and it had like a podcast domination course, it had like iconic branding and building, it had online sales, it had how to build a subscription model, everything like that. And so like with those two right there, I learned a lot, and I was able to start putting things together, and I actually started putting together like an online course on like a plan of action on how artists should actually pre-plan before they even do anything. And like I still have it to this day. Like my plan of attack is create a 5 to 7 track EP, put out a music video for each one of those, even if it's like a little handy cam looking video shoot or whatever. Make it all creative. You don't have to spend a G on every video. You can do it with a cell phone. Like I learned how to use Premiere Pro and edit music, my own music videos and everything like that. You know, I shoot it on my phone and stuff like that. I got a digital camera now too, but I shot multiple videos on my phone. A lot of it's in the editing. I tell artists that all the time. They're like, I can't afford a $1,000 music video with a videographer and stuff like that. I'm like, look, you can do this yourself if you take the time to learn, and I took the time to learn. I took 2 years off from, like, I was still making music, but I wasn't releasing anything. I wasn't on social media at all. By the time I finally came back on social media, I started posting, and I was only posting like a few times a week. And after like 2 weeks, Facebook ended up temporarily banning my account for 30 days because it looked like suspicious activity, because I had not been on in a year, and all of a sudden I come on and I'm posting multiple times a week, even though I was scheduling my posts. And so at the beginning of this year, from like all of January, when I was trying to promote my music and me coming back, my shit was on freeze on Facebook and Instagram. It's kind of fucked up. But either way, what I recommend is you do 5 to 7 track EP, music video for each one, and you take some clips out of each one of those, right? And then that gives you can spread that out over 6 months for your content, right? You drop one music video approximately once a month, depends on if you got 5, 6, or 7 tracks, right? Obviously. But that gives you approximately one new music video a month. You can post up 3 to 4. Well, actually, you should have 3 to 4. It depends on how many weeks you do it, because if you have 7 tracks, obviously you got to do it like every 3 weeks instead of every 4 weeks. But you have one clip, a different kind of clip each week for promotion for that music. And then you schedule all of that out ahead of time. So you sit there and you just put it all into the system because you've already got it created. You put it all in the system and you schedule it all out, because I came up with that not only because I see a lot of major labels do the exact same thing, I know that they do it. Yeah. And I pay attention to a lot of things, and I've watched a lot of videos and everything like that to try to get that aspect. But also, one of the biggest issues I see indie artists doing is they'll have some content, and they'll, as soon as they get it done, they post it out, whether it's a audio only track, whether it's a video as well, anything like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then it might be a month, 2 months before they get the next piece of content taken care of to where they can put it out, maybe even longer, right?
Right.
And so that's why I tell people, hey, get yourself 6 months worth of stuff up already, schedule it, and then you're good for the next 6 months, where you can spend that next 6 months creating everything, getting all the wrinkles ironed out. And then by the time that next 6 months is done, boom, you're back off, and you just schedule the next 6 months, post it, and then you're good to go. And then that will give you that will give you like all your promo stuff. Yeah. Right. And then all you have to do is come up with some other non-music related content that you can post a couple times a week, bare minimum, a couple times a week.
And make sure that it's to your brand. Make sure it sticks with your brand. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and even if it's something kind of new to you that you love, and it's not something you've already introduced your fans to, still
great way to introduce them to it.
Keep it. Exactly. Yeah. Like, you know, I always trip people out. I'm probably going to trip you out I don't think you've heard this yet, Coley, but I make hip hop music, but I also like going on morning walks out in the middle of the woods on the trails, and I like to garden. Right.
Nice.
And so I use that as my content, non-music content. But what I also do too is the way that I have my stuff is I throw in snippets of my music that fits whatever the clip is as well too.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so like whenever I'm like, for instance, whenever I'm doing my morning walks and stuff like that, if it's about, if during my morning walk, whenever I actually go out, like I vlog on my morning walk, like once a week or so, I bring my phone out and I'm sitting there, just whatever's on top of mine, I just go with it, whatever. And so like, if I'm sitting there talking about how, you know, I need to de-stress, I like my peace and everything like that, that's why I come out here in the middle of nature and everything like that. Right. Then, you know, I pop on one of my tracks, you know, that's about, you know, being, you know, by myself and like, you know, clearing my head and all that stuff, you know. And if I'm talking, like, I remember I had this one where I was talking about, you know, karma's a bitch and everything like that, right? I was talking about how, you know, karma can come get you. You got to make sure you keep your karma good. Well, I happen to have a track from a few years back, right? Like 3-4 years ago, where in the line I said, karma's a bitch, but I wifed that hoe, right? And so I actually, right. And so I actually like put that little snippet in there at the end of that little clip or whatever. And that clip was a promotion for one of my morning walks and stuff like that. So it's so, you know, you got it. I see artists do it too much too. They're like, I'm an artist, I need to tell people about my art. And it's like, yo, you need to tell people about you.
Exactly.
And so I always tell people, I'm like, look, post at least double non-music stuff that you do music stuff to your social media.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about your branded social media content, not just your personal stuff, you know. Yeah, your branded stuff, because that is where you will actually get people who fuck with you for real, not just people who are like, oh yeah, that track's hot, and then the next track you come out like, it's not so much, and then they fall off, right? It's not people who like you just because you made a hot track. It's people because, yeah, they might have found you with your music, or they might find you for something else that comes out of your mind, something you're spitting about current events, or something you're spitting about, you know, a specific hobby that you got or something like that, you know. Like I know a hip-hop artist who's like huge into anime. Well, anime is growing like a motherfucker right now. So if he were to go so like if he were to go on and be like, yo, I just saw that they're making blah blah blah, right, something anime, some new anime thing coming out or whatever, and he just keeps talking about anime all the time, right? Like he talks about anime, and then his music, he's talking about trap shit or something like that. It'll resonate with a lot of people, and you'll have people that'll rock with you for different things.
Yeah, because there's an artist actually. It was shout out to Sharante over at the network over.
Yep.
He showed us a video in our in our class, in one of our calls, of an artist, rap artist who's in doing anime. He's like, that's one of his niches, and it's cool because like for me, I'm into fitness, so I'm into like strongman and MMA and stuff like that. So I'm like, I started really incorporating that into my brand. And I remember when I was a metal front man, I started incorporating that, like showing me doing like getting into training and martial arts and also getting the modeling. And it was funny because what I started seeing, and my band members were kind of tripping out on it, like, well, what is he doing? What is he doing? And one of our friends who worked with us straight up was like, what Coley is doing is fucking working, dude. So I don't know why you guys, and it was like, that was like in the early 2010s and stuff like that, right? When social media started becoming that present. And it was like, I started using it in a way like, hey, showcasing who I am. And I started seeing the results. And the guys did too. And it was weird at that time, they didn't really know what to do with it, right? They didn't know what to do. They were kind of like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And why are you being so political? And then when they started seeing it and it started fixing, they started associating it with our brand. And unfortunately, when you get into a band like that, and I'll tell you guys something too, when you get into a band especially, be careful and make sure that you guys are collective, like you were talking about. Make sure you guys are all on the same page when it comes to issues, non-music brand issues. Like if you're into if you're into social issues, if you're into politics, if you're into certain sports that may be controversial or maybe certain, religion, things like that. Make sure you guys all have a talk about that before y'all start making a name for trying to make a name for yourself as a group or band or collective, because that can really that can detriment that can kill your whole movement. So making sure that you guys, that's one thing I definitely want to say, make sure that if you're doing that, make sure you guys are all on the same page, because it can cause mad turmoil. And like you were saying with and even with like with rappers, one thing, because we're getting up there because I'm about to get ready to wrap it up, and then you could get you a final word too. But one thing I want to say to y'all rappers, and it's just to harp off what you said, Chris, with the ego, right? The thing is this, y'all, and I mean, I've been following rap since the 80s, since like it be Sugar Hill Gang time, like for real. I'm up there. Y'all can see the gray hair there.
Yeah, a little bit. Shit, I thought that was intentional, honestly.
Yeah, no, that really grew that way. I was like, damn, that shit's cool, bro. But the one thing is, like you were saying with the ego, is like, that's braggadocious, being egocentric. That is part of hip hop. And the thing is that you need to make sure, and I don't care what race you are. Dame Dash said this about Eminem. It wasn't just about him being white. It was the fact that he was nice on the mic. And the thing is that if you're not nice, I don't care what race you are, where you from, if you ain't nice on the mic, you lost. I don't care. If you can have cool hooks, you can have cool choruses, but if them verses, if you're not riding that beat or in that pocket, it's a done deal. You might as well try to, like what Biggie say, don't be mad, UPS is hiring.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people will do that too. I mean, the ego is crazy, but yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, man, it doesn't matter until what matters is what you produce, what you put out there. That's what matters. And so if you're, like you were saying about the collective, I agree that you kind of got to be on the same page, but at the same time, that's going to be hard to find people that are on the same page about everything, so that's
where you have your core values, though. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Core values. Yeah. You want to make sure, because when you think about it, within artists, our main core values are those, like there's morals, issues, those core, religion, right? where do we stand on religion? Where do we stand on politics? Where do we stand on life in general? You got a job. All of those are things that factor in, especially
Yeah. Yeah, no, that kind of stuff does. But even if you have some disagreements or whatever within the band, you got to try to not have that feud public and try to not have a feud with it. And so that's the hard part, you know, and that's where people in general just kind of it goes sideways with a lot of people on that, you know. It is what it is, but you just gotta just be you.
Yeah.
You know, just be you. You know, that's what I've learned, you know, because I mean, for real, like whenever I was younger, when I first started getting into hip hop, you know, I thought you had to act a certain way, you had to be a certain way, everything like that.
That was hard for me too.
Right. And it wasn't it wasn't until, you know, I got to a certain age, I think it was like my late 20s, is when I was finally like, I'm just gonna be me. And who am I? Well, I'm this. And then now I put that forward on the mic. You know, that's why I put it forward in my art. It's like, hey, I'm me, you know, like this is me, take it or leave it. And not everybody's gonna rock with you. And a lot of people, what they want to do is they think they got to have millions and millions of followers and stuff like that to be considered making it and stuff like that. And it's like, look, you're going to have so many people that are not going to rock with you. Trying to get millions and millions, it's not going to work, you know. And the thing is too, is that a lot of people will compare themselves or their marketing method or whatever to a mainstream person. You know, I tell people, I'm like, hey, you know, you got to put out twice as much non-music stuff as music stuff and be real, like talk about some hobbies or whatever. Oh, well, Drake doesn't talk about his hobbies. No, it's because he doesn't fucking need to. You need to. Do you have millions of dollars for a marketing campaign per year? No, you don't. Okay, then shut the fuck up and do what I'm telling you, man. Exactly.
It's like, dude, you know, you can get 1,000 true fans to spend $5 on you. That's $5,000. What are you tripping on?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too, is that like $5 a month from 1,000 people is $5,000 a month, right? Now you're not going to get that every month. You're not going to get that every month from the same 5 people, unless you happen to start a podcast off of one of your interests and you have it up on Patreon, and you get 1,000 followers on Patreon who have it subscribed to pay you $5, $10, $15, $20, $50 a month or whatever every single month on auto, you know, withdrawal. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I tell artists as well too, like, comedians are on that shit right now, but I'm not seeing any music artists really on that right now. Some are, but some a lot of them aren't, you know. And so I always tell people, I'm like, look, like I know this one artist, he's from Brooklyn, right? I've known him for years. I've worked with him on multiple tracks and everything like that. He's from Brooklyn, and he loves like shoe game on point, you know, his fits are always on point, everything like that. And I'm like, dude, put that out on the socials. Like, you know, and he puts out stuff that he's passionate about and stuff like that, whether it's a current events issue or whether it's something about hip hop or something like that. But I'm like, dude, that fashion, that's going to get a lot of people interested in you off jump right there. And I'm like, dude, just have a podcast where you're talking about, you know, the fashion or whatever. You just sit there 20-30 minutes. You ain't gotta go an hour. You don't have to have guests or nothing like that if you don't want to. Just get up there, just do something like that, you know. And I tell people all the time, find something, put it out there, and don't go hyper personal either. A lot of people think, oh, I gotta bring my wife and kids in on this. Like, no, you don't do that. I recommend you don't, because then it's gonna mess with their, you know, self-esteem, self-confidence, egos, everything like that as well too. Keep that separate, you know. Yeah, you may talk about a situation, but that's going to be separate. That's going to be off to the side and everything like that. But you're talking about your music. You got to let people know who you are. Like I said, you know, if you sit there and you use the excuse, oh, well, you know, Metallica doesn't do that, or, oh, Drake doesn't do that, or, oh, whoever you see as a mainstream that you want to try to get up on that level, if that's where you want to go, oh, they don't do that. Yeah, well, look at the path that they took to get established, though. They came up in a totally different time. We're talking about right now, 2023, and you're sitting over here with tens or hundreds or thousands of followers, right? And you want to double and triple quadruple that, you're not even anywhere near hundreds of thousands of followers yet. That's why you're talking to me.
And the sad part is that they're not even catering to those 10,000 that they have.
Well, there's that too. Yeah. But the underground artists that I see that actually can build a cult-like following are the ones who do exactly what I'm saying too.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the thing, is that if you're starting close to the bottom or at the bottom, you can't be like, oh, well, I need to do what, you know, this major label artist does. It's like, okay, if you want to do that, look at his marketing budget. What, $5 million a year? Okay, come up with $5 million a year and put it to work exactly how his marketing agency does it. You can't, because you can't compete with Interscope working at the gas station or working at a factory or whatever you're doing. You can't compete with Interscope or whoever. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. And you got to think about this. They have millions of dollars that they spend for people who spend 40 to 60 hours a week as their full-time job promoting that specific artist, right? They have many people that are paid a substantial salary a year to focus all of their time helping one artist get up, right? You can't do that, man. You can't do that. I can't do that. I work a regular job as well too, right? And that's why I always tell artists too. I'm like, look, I work a regular job as well, and trying to make music and everything like that. And I got this and this and this and this and this and this. I list it off to some of these people, and they're like, yo, how do you have time? I'm like, cause you got to segment that shit, and you got to realize where you are. I may not have a lot of time, but I have more time than money. So I spend my time, like the last 2 years, educating myself to where now I can put those policies into practice on my own, where I can show substantial organic growth from posting raw, real shit on a regular schedule every single week, keeping it fresh, keeping it new, not doing the same old bullshit, and reaching people with different varying interests and trying to pull them into a overall circle, right? In marketing, it's called casting the wide net. You cast a wide net and you pull in what you can catch off of it, you know? And that's how you got to build it. You got to build it through organic, and then you throw some money behind it with some marketing dollars to do some promotion, to do some, getting eyeballs on your stuff and everything like that.
Exactly.
That's why I always tell people, it's like, look, yes, have a vision of where you want to be, but don't focus on where you want to be as much as where you focus on where you're at right now. And where you're at right now is you get 2 likes per post on your fucking Facebook. You need to fix that. You can't be like, oh, well, Tech9 doesn't do that, or oh, well, Bring Me the Horizon doesn't do that. They don't. They spend their time creating music and performing it. That's all they do. Right? They don't do the marketing. Yeah, exactly. They don't do the marketing because they have the whole fucking label working for them. You don't have that. And then people are like, oh, well, I just need to get signed. Well, you can't get signed unless you can show your worth.
Exactly.
And so I recommend people, whether you're in the hip hop space or not, because that's one of the cool things about me and KP is that we come from like different backgrounds in a way to different things to make a meet up and say the exact same shit, just in different languages.
Yep.
But I would recommend reading or listening on audiobook to 50 Cent's newest, like his book called it's something about Get Rich. It's not Get Rich or Die Trying, but it's Get Rich or Get Richer or something like that, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
It is great because he talks about from step 1 till today in that whole thing, and he lays it out, and he talks about some great stuff, and that's what I gotta say on that. Do you have any? I can keep talking for hours, but we're gonna cut this off of here before it's 4-hour long podcast, man. But do you have any other pointers, man? Anything else you want to say for today to wrap up what we've been talking about today?
Pretty much, man. You did, dude. You dropped some gems, man. That was some serious heat. I was just looking up that 50 Cent just to get the idea of the book, what the name of the book is. Because I'm actually just looking at his
Yeah, he's got another one called like 50 Laws of Power that he did with Robert Greene, but he's got one that he did by himself as well too that just came out a few months back.
Yeah.
I could look it up too. I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah, we'll definitely, we'll look at that. But yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, there's books right here.
50 Cent book.
So you got 50 so you got Curtis
50
Jack
Cent
Curtis,
books.
50 Cent.
Yeah, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. That's what it is.
Hustle Smarter. That's it.
Yeah, I just talked to Google real quick. Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. That is dope because he's literally in that whole book. He's saying exactly what to do. Hustle hard, but hustle smart.
Yeah,
and that's what you have to do. 100%.
For sure. So yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this on up, y'all, because like Harco said, bro, we can go for 4 hours on this piece.
Right, but there's gonna be more to come. We'll drop at least one of these a week, and just if you got any questions or anything like that, drop it down below wherever you're watching this. Follow us on socials, everything like that. We're gonna get all that worked up here soon, but all the details will be down here in the description, and y'all have a good one.
All right, y'all. Y'all know who this is. This is Money Making Music Making
Money Making Sense Podcast.
Money Making Sense Podcast. You got KP
and Harcos over here.
We out, y'all. Word. You can hear me clear as hell now, can you?
Yeah, you're just a little far back, but other than that.
Am I that far back? How about that?
Yeah, it's just like it's a little echoey in the background for some reason.
Okay, hold on. I know what to do. All right. How's that?
Well, you're not even near your mic, so I don't know.
Oh, you just said I'm not near my mic, but you just heard me say it. How about
like
that?
I heard you, but like you still sound about the same because you're not even near your mic.